Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll be working with this die set from iCrafter, and I actually just picked this up, and it's they are sort of new to the market, this brand, but this is Linda Canase's brand when she used to design for Sizzix. So I'm very familiar with a lot of her dies. I own a lot of the mini album ones. In fact, I just posted a video of her Biggs mini album that was created by Sizzix. So I was really happy to come upon this brand, and what I really love as I was sort of shopping on their website is that she has a lot of sort of interactive style of cards, and what's really neat is that there she'll have sort of a base sort of concept with the core mechanic of a particular, interaction, and then she'll have additional add-ons that are themed differently, or just have different elements that you can use with the core base die set. And I always think that's really nice because, whenever you buy a die set, it's a little bit of an investment, and it's always really nice when there are subsequent releases that help you get more out of the things that you already have. And this one, it's a little bit different in that I think all of the wiper insert style or pop-up mechanic, I think they all actually do come with the pop-up mechanism. However, she's got a lot of other really fun die sets that I'm eager to try out. So I have some on their way to me, actually, but I'll be playing with this one today, and it's the holiday wiper insert. There are 10 dies in this set. So you have the main mechanism die, which is this large one here, and these little half circles are actually gift card holders, which I always really love when gift card holders are sort of built into a card, because my husband and I give a lot of gift cards along with handmade gifts, and so it's really nice to be able to actually incorporate that into the greeting card itself. Then we've got some words. So there's happy holidays for you. Then the other part of the mechanism is actually this die plate, which does cut 2 dies, and they're sort of the wiper arms. And then there are some decorative dies, these holly leaves and holly berries. So if you're not familiar with the wiper mechanism, I've already made one card, and I'll be making another one pretty similar to this, but just in a different colorway. So here I took those holly leaves and I die cut them a bunch of times, and I just glued them tone on tone, so the exact same cardstock I have as my background, this nice cream color, I die cut the leaves from that as well. So the end result is really subtle. It almost looks like it's embossed. So there's a nice sort of faux embossing look here. And then I just layered up happy birthday a few times, and just to give it that little bit of dimension. And in and of itself, I think this could be a really nice card, but what's really cool is when you then open this up and you get this fun wiper mechanism with the for you that sort of kind of swings around and up. And then I've just got another little cluster of holly leaves and berries. So that is the card that I'll be creating in this video, and as I mentioned, it'll just be in a different colorway because it's kind of nice to have different options to send out during the holidays. So I'll start die cutting and show you all the pieces that you need. First, I'm going to start off by showing the paper pads that I'll be using for this card. So I'm going for a more cool tones, so blues, silvers, and white. And two of the paper pads are just 6x6 paper pads from Tonic Studios, and one of them is an older Martha Stewart holiday paper pad. I think I got it for something like $3 on Amazon. I don't know that any of these are still available, but if they are, I'll be sure to link to them in the description box below. The card size that I'm working on is a standard US A2 size, so that's 4¼ by 5½, and this will be top folding landscape. And I've already taken one of the pearlescent cards from Tonic Studios, and I cut that to the full USA 2 size. And this piece that I'm lining with double-sided adhesive tape now is the leftover piece from the 6x6 sheet that I cut the card panel from. And I already did some die cutting because there were actually 2 strips left over from that initial card panel cut. But what I'm gonna do is just die cut a lot of these little holly leaves. And one of the reasons why I like to line the cardstock with double-sided adhesive tape before I do the die cutting is with so many pieces, and these pieces aren't super tiny, but they are rather small. It's just a lot easier to work with these and place them if they already have adhesive on the back, because essentially I'm making little stickers that I can then just adhere onto my card panel. And it's a lot less messy also than using even a dotty tape runner, or definitely a lot less messy than using liquid adhesive. The other time I like to line my cardstock with double-sided tape before I die cut is if I'm using mirror card in my die cutting, because a lot of times if you get any adhesive residue on the surface of that mirror card, you definitely want to clean that up, because it'll be visible, because it's going to take that shine, it's going to dull that down. So usually with mirror card, you would have to go back in, or at least I always seem to have to go back in with a gum eraser and do a little bit of cleaning up. And that's even using a dotty tape runner and liquid adhesive, same thing. So lining your cardstock with double-sided adhesive tape is one way to just avoid that altogether. So the other tip that I have is, if you're running to the end of your cardstock, I would definitely still go ahead and hang your die off of the edge of the cardstock, and you'll have these partial cuts, like I have already placed a couple of them there, and you can just butt those up to the edge of your card. A lot of times when I do techniques like these, whether it's building a background using dies like I'm doing here, or stamping my own background, I like to have the imagery, whether it's stamps or dies, run clear off the panel. And that way it looks like this was a larger panel, larger design that's been cut down. And if you didn't do partial die cuts, I would still hang a full die cut off the edge of my card and then just trim it off. But the beauty of just doing your partial die cuts is that you're getting the most out of your cardstock, and then you don't really have to trim anything afterwards. So that one little strip that was about maybe 2 inches wide, that covered nearly half of our card panel here. So you can see this is a really fun way to build a background, and it doesn't really take a lot of paper either. So it's also very economical. So I do have to cut myself another little strip. I just cut another little 2-inch strip of that same pearlescent paper. And the neat thing about this technique is that it, you end up with almost an embossed look. So that piece that I threw off to the left there, that's a partially die cut holly leaf. So when I do partial die cuts, I like to leave them off to one side so that I know that I already have some edge pieces that I can work with, rather than having to hang a full die cut off the edge. And I am taking care to like place and orient my die cuts every time just so that I can really maximize how many die cuts I can get off of this one sheet. And here again, I'm gonna hang that die right off the edge of the paper and get another partial die cut that I can use. So as I was saying, this is a really fun way to create sort of a faux embossed look, but it's a cute use or another way to use your smaller dies. And as you can see, this is just, a few dies, but it can create this really fun background, which will be unique and different every time because you're going to be randomly placing these. And also, if you wanted, instead of having to invest in diffuser plates or anything like that, you could actually leave yourself a nice circle or oval in the center where it's flat if you wanted to stamp your sentiment right in the center. And so that's another really useful way. And here I'm hanging little pieces off the edge and trimming where I feel like I have gaps. But as I was saying, you could use sort of a gap in the center, which they do make diffusing plates on so that you can create that sort of flat space when you use your embossing folders. And but this way, when you're making your own sort of faux embossing, you can create that oval gap yourself or whatever shape gap that you want and not have to rely on buying yet another product to do that. So just really fun technique that I like to use, especially with smaller dies. So here I've die cut my words several times. So I'm showing you different ways that you can kind of adhere these. I like to stack multiple layers just to give extra thickness. And so I've got 3 die cuts of, I think, 120-pound paper, and then the top one is going to be our pretty layer. So you could use a dotty tape runner, which is what I used for the word holidays, or you could use some liquid glue, like I did for the word happy. Now, I don't generally use my Tombow multi-purpose glue, but for whatever reason, all of my PVA glue was downstairs because I'm doing some crafting downstairs. So this is what I happen to have at hand. And I don't generally recommend using the multi-purpose glue unless you're using it for the special property that it has, which is you can let this glue dry completely, and when it dries, it remains tacky. And that's one reason why it's not the best for interactive cards. But you'll see in the video later that I actually just take some of my baby powder, or you could use cornstarch or a anti-static powder bag to just powder down anywhere that you want to make sure is not sticky at all. So now that we're done with the front of our card, it's time to work on the inside of the card. This piece is the pop-up mechanism. And the die makes all the cuts and puts all the score lines in for you. However, I do like to take this to my scoreboard and rescore on those lines because, and it really just depends on the thickness of your cardstock. This first score line at the bottom here, that's going to be attached to the 2 tabs there will be attached to the bottom of your card, and this part where the slots are will be sort of that front part where your gift card will slot into. And then this part that I'm folding here is going to be the main thing that kind of creates that wiper action. So what you want to do is, what I do anyways, is I just start to get the folds started, and I like to push down in the center of that triangle, and with my thumb and middle finger from the bottom, I'll push up. And then bring those together. So you can use your fingernail if you need to really get into that little corner there, but you can see, just go slow, go gently, and with the score lines, especially if you take it to your scoreboard and just reinforce those score lines, it will naturally just fold in on itself, and you can see how it's already starting to do that here. And you just have to be a little patient and just continue to push, and then definitely take a bone folder and reinforce that that crease. At the very top of that, there's another score line, and I actually folded that the wrong way initially, so you'll see me correct that later. Here, I've got the arm that is the wiper arm, and the way that I position this is flush to the bottom and to the edge of that triangle. Don't cross over the score line, because you definitely want this to still be able to fold flat again. And then, I just have it running right to the edge. So when this folds completely flat, you can see those arms stand straight up. Before I actually go to glue my pop-up mechanism into the card, I'm going to add this decorative panel to the top portion. The card that I showed during my intro, I put the pattern paper on the bottom, but I thought I might change things up a little bit. And my ATG tape is actually fairly strong, so it just barely grazed my card base there, and I'm having a hard time peeling it up. It actually pulled up some of the cardstock, but that's not a big deal, because I'll just put down some liquid glue and it'll wear it toward the cardstock a little bit. That's going to get covered up anyways. So it is nice to know how strong my tape is, though. So now that that's adhered, and you could definitely put pattern paper on the bottom too, but one of the things that I realized after I made the first card is that I want to leave a space to actually sign the card and maybe stamp an additional sentiment in the card. So I'd rather have that be at the bottom portion of the card. So here I've got just glue on those two tabs at the bottom there, and I'm lining that up right up to the score line, but not going across it or over it at all, because again, we don't want to interfere with that fold. We want this to be able to fold down nice and flat. And I'll go ahead and burnish that really, really well. I'm being careful not to burnish the top part, because I've got some 3D Collage glue underneath the holly berries to give it some extra dimension. Here's where I used, this is just baby powder that I'm brushing on. I'm just making sure that anywhere there was liquid glue that might have went beyond where I wanted, I'm using the baby powder to remove that tackiness. Here's where I corrected the fold on this top portion here. You want it to lay flat, and it's going to actually be a mountain fold in from the orientation that you're looking at it here. So to attach this here, you can see me refolding that as a mountain fold. I had it folded incorrectly, so it'll attach like that. And to get this to attach, I use, you could definitely use something like score tape or really strong dry adhesive tape as well. I'm just really trying to use up all the glues that I have that I don't plan to buy more of, so that these just don't dry out from non-use. And that's the other reason why I'm using my Tombow here. But it does take a moment to grab, but Tombow is also really low on water content and pretty fast grabbing, so it doesn't take too long, and I can definitely open it. But the first time you open it, you want to take a little bit of time. Here, I'm just drawing where that thumb notch is so that I don't glue down my thumb notch, because that little thumb notch piece needs to actually pop forward in order to hold your gift card. So I'm going to make sure when I put glue down that I avoid where right directly behind the thumb notch. So this is totally optional, but I wanted to kind of decorate the little arms, wiper arms a little bit. And the reason why I keep flipping that bottom part up is because eventually we are going to attach the bottom part to our mechanism. It's just easier not to do that right now. At least for me, it seemed easier to just attach these first. That way I can really see the full wiper arm, and if I needed to attach something that went below the gift card panel, then I could have easier access to that. So now that that's in place and our wiper arms are complete, I'm just going to put glue all the way along that front panel, but again, avoiding where the thumb notch part is. And that's pretty much, the mechanism and the card complete. So let me show you again the two variations. This was the one that I showed during my intro that has the cream color and then the red and green, sort of your more standard traditional holiday colors. And this one is more your icy blue, silver, and white. And pretty similar, really easy to put together, and very effective, fun cards to send out during the holidays along with a little gift card. Thank you so much for joining me, and if you like this video, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. If you hit the subscribe button and the bell, then you'll get a notification whenever I post new videos to my channel. Thanks again, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!